Good evening and welcome to the Greg Tompsett Sports Show. Really excited to be able to jump in here. We've survived for 4 episodes and we're coming back here again. Really excited you guys could join us. We're going to have some fun tonight. Some awesome guests that are coming on. Going to be able to talk through. We've got Uncle Dickie coming back on. He's going to build us some parlays here at the end of the show. Had 2 awesome guys, Matt Mitchell and Collin Wilson, came on. There's a great connection from our magic behind the scenes from Lauren, setting it up from the Action Network. Had a great discussion, going to help you guys build your brackets for this year's March Madness tournament. Going to be able to be in a spot to kind of mess around and do some of the fun for things outside of the bracket, able to set up the other games and other things that are out there, give you some tips on the kind of teams to look for, and then they should give you some dark horses and some of their favorites for teams to really sink into in your bracket or betting on them in the tournament themselves. But I had some different things planned for what's everybody talking about tonight. But instead, obviously, we had some breaking news, and what came out was the trade for the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. Blockbuster trade. The Chicago Bears have jumped up and they have taken the number 1 pick and sent it to the Carolina Panthers. So the Panthers were sitting at pick 9. David Tepper has been, in a position where he's owned the team for a little bit here, had a little bit of a whiff with Matt Rule, had tried a couple different things with, bringing in different people in different spots, trying out, a couple retreads. Rule brought in, people thought maybe PJ Walker for a minute. They traded for Sam Darnold. They, drafted Matt Corral. They've tried a couple of things, but just never gotten anything close to any actual production. Gave it a shot with Baker Mayfield. And now it's in a spot where they paid a lot. This is a ton. So the trade is Carolina's first round pick at number 9. The first pick in one of the first picks in the third round, or the last pick of the second round, pick 61 is hard now because Miami got forfeited that pick. So I think it's the last pick of the second round. Then a first round pick in 2024, and then a second round pick in 2025, and DJ Moore. So DJ Moore is a player that I don't know if everybody is super excited about or knows about because he's been stuck in Carolina, but he's a really good player, like really good talent. This is a great haul for Chicago. So I'll get to them in a second. The reason that I think it's okay is that in today's NFL, nothing matters until you have your quarterback. If you have your quarterback, everything else is okay and is going to work out, and you're going to be able to figure it out, but you have to hit on the quarterback. So if Scott Fitterer sits there and whiffs on the pick, he's going to get fired. If Scott Fitterer sits there at pick 9 and picks somebody else and they don't end up with a quarterback, he can get fired. If Scott Fitterer sits there and sits at 9 and picks a quarterback but misses, he's going to get fired. The only shot to maintain your job is to make an aggressive move to hit on your quarterback. So if he didn't feel confident sitting at 9, and at 9, you're talking about Houston's in front of you, Indy's in front of you, Las Vegas is in front of you, Washington is in front of you, it's very unlikely you're going to get your guy at pick 9. So do I think he overpaid? Yeah. Look at the stuff on the screen. This is a ton. He definitely paid 150 cents on the dollar. But, think about it. If you're Kansas City and you think back of, if you had paid this for Mahomes, if you're Buffalo and you had paid this to go get Josh Allen, any of those spots, if you end up with your guy and he's a franchise quarterback, there is no cost. There is no expense that's too high. Of course, you look back and say, oh man, I wish we could have done this or done that. And I, personally, if I was Carolina, I would have used these 2 first-round picks to simply sign Lamar Jackson and kept DJ Moore and kept the 2 second-round picks. But, here instead, they want the rookie contract. They want to be able to build and pick their guy. They don't want to commit, $250 million to Lamar Jackson. I probably would have gone that route, but I get it. So, I think that they overpaid a little bit. I think that this is a spot where they, felt pot committed. And, Jason here was talking about, this is Frank Reich for the first time getting to choose his guy. He's had a lot of retreads. There was an awful lot of, Matt Ryan and Carson Wentz and Phillip Rivers and just leftover extra guys that he's had to try to work his way through. And now he finally has a chance to like put his thumbprint down, pick his guy, and move forward that they are ready. So my gut feeling, I kind of think it's CJ Stroud. I think CJ Stroud is that guy. He's so smooth, he's so compact. I think it's going to be CJ Stroud. I won't be shocked at any of them. If it comes out that it's Will Levis, I'll be a little surprised, but it's not crazy. If it's Anthony Richardson and they think he's their generational, alpha guy that's just the alien to make a difference on the field, I'll believe it. If they decide it's Bryce Young, who is I think the odds-on favorite, absolutely will make sense. My gut feel is I think it's CJ Stroud. We'll see where it goes. But that's my feeling. I think the draft starts CJ Stroud, then Bryce Young to Houston, and we'll see where those things go. So huge trade, a lot of other things going on, but that obviously kind of trumped everything and jumped in as what everybody's talking about right now. A couple other news, we've seen different things breaking as it goes here. Robert Woods just signed with Houston. I'm kind of curious, is that the first evidence that we have that maybe D'Amico Ryans has a little bit of juice here with players in the NFL? Certainly looked like a deal that was below what some people were expecting. He signed for $15.5 million over 2 years, so it's $7.75 million. Seemed like the kind of deal that we might see a contender pay, but kind of surprised that he chose that in Houston. I'm curious, maybe that is the indicator that this is the first the first show of players really being into playing for D'Amico Ryans, which I can understand. A lot of players were really excited about him getting that job. So we'll see. I'm kind of rooting for Houston to get things turned around. I'd like D'Amico Ryans. I'd like that to go well, but we'll see where it goes from here. So without further ado, our first segment of the night, we had some awesome guys on from the Action Network. You can check out their information in the show description, all kinds of good stuff going on here. But our first segment is going to be with Matt Mitchell and Collin Wilson of the Action Network, and we'll check it out now. All right, here we are with the guys from the Action Network, Collin Wilson and Matt Mitchell. Gentlemen, how we doing?
Well, I'll go ahead and start because I usually talk over Mitchell on our podcast anyways. I am on day 2 recovery from Las Vegas. I went to the WCC Coastal Tournament, semis and finals, got some front row on the court. My feet were on the blue court. But at the same time, I got to talk to all the players for Tarleton State, UT Rio Grande. Like every conference tournament is in Vegas these days. And it's great just to be there to talk to the players when they're outside just hanging out, seeing where their mindset is. So I'm fresh off of Vegas. I feel great.
I am thriving. It's a fabulous part of the year. There's so much to choose from. And my favorite, gambling before noon Central Time on a weekday. So I'm truly living my best life right now.
No matter when you roll over, you can flip it on and hey, there's something ready for some action. And, we'll talk about a little bit about some of the strategy and things that go into it, but what's going on in the Action Network? What do you guys have going? We're a sucker for it. We use screenshots all the time on the show. Every time somebody's this close to one of the big parlays, or do they cash out, or look at this crazy 18-legger. I'm a sucker every single time.
So for your audience specifically, for anyone interested in kind of diving into the deep end of March Madness, especially betting, I would recommend Big Bets on Campus, our podcast, and our live show. We will have many, many episodes between Selection Sunday and all the way through the first round. Everything you need to bet at a high level, bet the Thursday slate, bet the Friday slate, live shows covering Saturday and Sunday. I definitely recommend that. And of course, the award-winning Action Network app, which is free, that allows you to obviously follow all the games and also track your picks, see how you're doing, see how you're progressing, see your live percentage to win, and then get access to articles and videos from all of our experts, including Collin Wilson. Everything you need to go with more than your gut this March.
Perfect. Yeah. And if you guys check it out, we'll have the links for that in the show description. So listening right now, you can scroll down. You'll have the links for those available to you here in the show description.
Yeah, I was just going to say, the reason why the Action Network is the best place to get all of your stuff is because we do a little bit deeper level than everybody else. We know who's running ISO. We know who does spot up threes. We know who's running a 2-3 zone, and we know who can attack that. And you have to put a market price on that. And I think that's what differentiates us in basketball, football, everything else. We're going to give you a little bit extra more than everywhere else.
Perfect. So, as we go into here, obviously, not me, some people go just right from football and then realize, oh crap, college basketball has been going on for a while here. I better figure out what's going on. Obviously, I am very well versed and know exactly what's been happening. But theoretically, for those people who maybe haven't been plugged in and the last time they looked, well, UNC's the preseason number 1. They probably ought to be pretty good. Are they a 1 seed now? What are some of the things that you would recommend for them to kind of get caught up on what's going on here this time of year?
I think that's a really good question because I got caught up in something like that earlier this year. Now, for anybody that doesn't know, I do college football exclusively. It is my life every day for about 7 months of the year. But college basketball starts right in the middle of my football season. So how is it that I get caught up? And you can use certain resources that come out. I know the Blue Ribbon is something that I use. And what you want to do is you want to look for talented backcourts. You have to have point guard play when it comes to Final Four. You want to look for a lot of returning starters, a lot of depth. You want to look for coaches that are now utilizing the transfer portal. It's like those kinds of things all led me to my Razorbacks, right? It was like we have 3 NBA projected lottery picks on the team. We have excellent guard play. That's a team that you just kind of want to get it in November, and then we'll go and check you out in conference season and see how things are going. Now, if you went down that path, you would have taken North Carolina. That didn't go so well this year. I think this is one of the most interesting college basketball seasons we've ever had because I'm not sure anybody's going to be able to guess a Final Four exactly correct. I would not be surprised to see a double-digit seed get in there because I think it's going to be who has the hot play, who has the guard play, who can defend the perimeter, who can hit their free throws. Right now, we're still on fact-finding tour, and we're in Power 5 conference tournaments.
Yeah, it's crazy to go through. It used to be I would place high in bracket contests every year, and I tell people it's simple. I don't I'll overthink it. I don't try to pick out every single upset because they just didn't happen that often. Just push your top seeds in, pick a handful here or there, and then if you get lucky of who's your Elite Eight, who's your Final Four, you'd be good. And just that strategy doesn't hold water anymore. Like there's just so much potential for crazy upsets. And now we've finally seen, the 2-15s, the 16-1s, all the crazy, hits that are out there. Matt, what are some of the things that have stuck out to you in just some of the high level numbers that like, hey, here's some things you want to take a look at, or maybe if they're leaning into certain conferences or not? What's some things that stuck out to you?
So before I joined your show today, I did reach out to our director of research, Evan Abrams, one of the best in the biz, for this kind of high level research. And the stuff he came back with was fascinating to me in relation to performance against the betting market. So I give you an example: preseason favorites to win it all. So typically the perception of the very best team entering the tournament this year that will almost certainly be number 1. Houston, looking right now at south of 6-1 to win it all. Since 2009, here are how many preseason favorites have even made the Final Four, right? So 4 teams a year since 2009. Gonzaga and Baylor in 2021, Kentucky in 2014 and 2015, and 2009 UNC. That's it. So it is dramatically more common that the preseason favorite going into the tournament doesn't even make the Final Four than that team makes it or wins it all. That's actually exceedingly rare. So I would advise people to not be swayed kind of by the market going into the tournament, or be kind of overly cautious about making a number 1 seed get knocked off at some point. Those are just numbers. Like, you don't need to worry about that. It's actually not that unusual to see a 1 and 2 meet and it's a pick 'em. Like those are just numbers for seeding. Don't be swayed. And also, there's a perception that some conferences just kind of dominate. The Big Ten hasn't won a national title since 2000. The Pac-12 hasn't won a title since 97. SEC hasn't won a title in over 10 years. And the West Coast Conference hasn't won since 1956. So there's this perception that some of these power conferences are competing for the title. But since Arizona won the title in 97, we haven't seen a champion west of Texas. So there's an awful lot of success focused and kind of concentrated in a lot of very few geographical areas.
And I'll add on to what Matt Mitchell is saying, who, by the way, is coming from the heartland of America.
That's right.
The Big Ten has had serious issues just winning a game in the tournament over the last couple of years. And it's one of those things where you look at Purdue and everybody's on Purdue. They're going to be a number 1. You got Zach Edey. Well, what happens when you draw like an 8-9 seed in Arkansas and I've got 4 bigs that I can throw at you that can play defense and they've got 20 fouls to give? So, if Purdue does not get to play their style of play, they're going to get bounced. That's what makes this season so interesting. But back to the Big Ten, I'm not sure I'm going to take them to advance anywhere in this tournament because of how poor the history has been in the last couple of years.
Yeah, and it takes some of those, unless you have, like you said, that combination of the experienced guard player, that special athlete that you're somebody who can really just put a team on their back. And if you don't have those top lottery picks, those top guys, it's really hard to do it. Now, some of them going to the G League or so many more overseas, it's just not as constant to have that top talent. So now if you're in that middle tier, now all those other factors come into play. So Collin, I know you have some experience. A lot of folks get into doing the brackets, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But what are some other things, if you have ways that you could play around other contests or other games that you think are interesting and fans might want to check out?
Well, I do love to play Calcutta. I'm probably in 4 a year. They can get very pricey. They can stay very cheap. It just depends on you have to be able to handicap the group that you're in with Calcuttas. Now, saying that, before I get into like actual Calcutta strategy, I already have a list of the teams that I like for the tournament and teams that I don't like for the tournament. And it's all about what is the bracket going to be and what is their path. And, for the 2 hot teams that I know that I'm probably going to advance out of the gate and not even care who they're playing is going to be Toledo and Iona. Right now, they are on fire, and I know their level of competition is nothing but we've got everything from, hot play from the perimeter, great defense, but, a coach named Patino, I think I've heard that name before. Those are the 2 teams that are going to come into this as a 13, 14, 15 seed, and they're going to rock somebody. So it's things like that where I go and do a dump of the last 30 days. I see who the hottest teams are. I look at their track record against the competition when they have stepped up before. But like I said, I need that hot guard play. I need that perimeter play. And please hit your free throws. I've already got it kind of circled out. And I think there's other bettors like me because you'll see steam, right? You'll see these 13, 14, 15 seeds that'll get steam immediately when the lines come out. So identifying those teams, you don't want to be late because odds makers always know how to move that line far enough to where the very last number on the board is exactly where the game lands on. So you need to know those teams going into the tournament.
So help explain for fans a little bit that maybe aren't familiar with the Calcuttas. It's more getting into bidding on a team that you like, and you're getting, with the Kansas, of course, it counts as a win, but you're getting less credit than if you pick a Toledo or an Iona and you get a win or multiple wins from a 13 or 14. If you pick St. Mary's at the right time, that can actually carry you through the contest. Explain a little bit about what that might be if they're not familiar with it.
Yeah, I'm going to use some extremely high level math because it can get the pot can get very big, and you have to be constantly doing math if you want to know where value is and you want to know how to grab a team in a Calcutta auction. And that's all it is. It's an auction. It's somebody throws out a team and then people just start naming off the amount of money they want to have to buy that team. At the end of the day of the Calcutta, what happens is there's the total pot. If you advance the first round, you win 1%. If you make it to the Sweet 16, you win another % of that pot. Then it starts getting bigger. I get 3% of the pot. If I make it to the Elite 8, 6%, 10%, we're talking you win the whole shebang, you get like 30% of the pot. So a team can essentially wins 6 in a row, can win you nearly half the purse. And when you think about that, you don't know what the total amount of dollars is going to be while you're actually doing the auctioning. And so let's say it ends up being $100. And let's say a team like Houston gets thrown out there, and you don't know it's going to be $100, right? Let's say Houston's the first 1 seed that's thrown out there. If their final bid is $25, they have set the bar for all the other 1 seeds. That means all the other 1 seeds that come out, like maybe in Alabama, if they go at $25, that's good value. Or if they go at $27, you overpaid. If they go at $23, you got them at a good price. So you want to bid according to seeding. And then if you love your Ionas of the world, like I do, you're going to pay a little bit extra on those cheap teams because someone's going to say Iona for $1. No one's going to want to bid on in the room. Collin Wilson's going to go $2, and no one's going to overbid me because it's Iona, right? So what you want to do is pump teams. Pump, pump, pump. Right now, I know Virginia beat North Carolina last night. They've kind of been on the decline the last 30 days. There's no way I would actually want to have money on them. Memphis too volatile. Illinois, sorry, for all of you Big Ten fans, I'm just not into you either. And those are the kind of teams where I'm going to pump the Calcutta pot. I'm going to make people think that I want them, and I'm going to rip the rug out from under them. And how you know that is you don't want to get into a head-to-head bidding in a Calcutta. What you want to do is see two people that are fighting, know if they're alumni or fans of the conference, and just kind of prod them like an animal. Like, yeah, $13, $15, $17. Lay off, pump up the prices, and then go get the teams you want at a better discount.
Yeah, it's the same idea, in a fantasy football auction, and you're throwing out there, well, I don't want Larry Fitzgerald, but I'll let you guys bid on them. We'll go through that. So as we're going through some of these different pieces, you talked about some of the items at the beginning. You've thrown out some dark horses. So let's go with the other end of it here. I know we got some questions in from some fans that were wondering about this. We talked about Houston. How about Kansas coming back? Is it possible to see it come back? The last time we saw that, was Florida was the last time that we saw a repeat champion. Is that possible? What are your thoughts on them coming back and having a Kansas run here?
Yeah, I absolutely have 3 teams that I think are making the Final Four, and I haven't figured out who the double-digit seed that's going to upset everything and get there. But Kansas is one of those teams. And when you can dominate a conference as strong as the Big 12, and you can look the way they are, and you can play the way that you are right now, you're going to be the team that I say that gets in there. Let's not forget that one of the Sweet 16 Elite 8 weekends is being played in Kansas City. I've already earmarked that as home court advantage for the Jayhawks. They will be a ride-in to the Final Four for me. So Kansas is one of those. The other one that I've got marked is UConn. Just watching them last night, watching them the entire season. They are a team that knows how to instantly snap their fingers and look elite. There is a piece I'll have coming out Action Network next Monday called Kill Shot. And I think that's a new term for a lot of people. They don't understand what it is. And really, I've only known about it 2 years, and I'm using it to bet on it. And it pays very well. And a kill shot is when a basketball team goes on a 10-0 run. Now, there's also a kill shot against. You can give up 10-point runs, right? And that's what kills your gambling. When you're gambling on basketball and all of a sudden the score is you end up on Scott Van Pelt bad beats because of kill shots. And you need to know these teams that can just instantly catch on fire and have 10-0 runs, and the ones that can't. And UConn is at the top when it comes to kill shot efficiency. They average at least 1 kill shot a game. They allow 1 kill shot every 10 games. So UConn is one of those teams that is just so elite. You're not going to be able to get a big run on them. Can you hang with them and stay in one possession? Good luck, but you're not going to be able to get a 10-0 run on them. So UConn's the other one. And then Gonzaga. The hate on this team is so far out of control.
Drew Timme is just he's so easy to hate. He's not Morrison levels, but it's an easily hateable character. He's everybody's high school bully that played basketball.
It's funny you say that because Adam Morrison was sitting next to me calling the Gonzaga game against Marys while Drew Timme's sweat was flying on me just a couple nights ago. Drew Timme said it. I know nobody was watching the actual championship celebration, but you were a 4-time champion of this conference. How does it feel to stick around? And he's talking about Watson. He's talking about Strother. He's like, everybody is counting us out, that we are not the same team that we were before. He's talking about Suggs isn't there. Chet Holmgren isn't there. He knows the narrative is out there that everybody thinks this Gonzaga team is not the same. I got news for everybody. They can push, press, shoot. They can do everything that anyone else can do. And I think there's just too much hate on Gonzaga right now, and they're going to get a better seed because of it. And with UCLA losing their star player, and I think it's already said, UCLA is going to get the 1 seed in the West. Gonzaga is going to get the 2 seed in the West. UCLA is losing their star player to injury just a couple nights ago. To me, it sets up perfect for Gonzaga.
Beautiful. Matt, any names that stick out to you or ones that Colin didn't touch on that pique your interest or were in the packet?
Well, it's funny. Like I mentioned earlier, and I want to make sure I didn't misspeak. Teams entering the season, not the tournament, as the favorite typically don't make the Final Four this year. Perfect example, UNC. They're definitely not making the Final Four this season. But they were kind of co-favorites with Houston and Gonzaga. They were all about 9-1 entering the season. I'm always leery of Gonzaga. And as much as everyone loves Timmy's sweat flying all over us for a whole tournament, he is awfully hateable. He looks like a lot of people everybody seems to know in life, and you don't love that guy. But looking at the pre-tournament favorites to win the national title. So this would be Houston in this case. Teams to win the title as the pre-tournament favorite since 2000. We've got Michigan State in 2000, Duke the next year, Florida in 2007, Kentucky 2012, Louisville the next year, UNC 3 times, 2005, 2009, 2017, and then Villanova in 2018. So we haven't had a pre-tournament favorite win since 2018, and it's been about as likely as it is to happen as to not happen. So I like Houston. Sampson doesn't fill me with a ton of confidence as someone that had Houston in a Calcutta last year and watched them lose to Villanova because they went 1 for 20 from 3 in one of the most excruciating experiences of my entire life. It was my version of childbirth. Shout out to your producer Lauren, where it just felt like the pain would just never end. Instead of getting a child, I just lost a ton of money. Also a key part of parenting.
Yeah, correct. Losing money. I'm very used to that. Very used to that.
You're just hemorrhaging it. But the last thing I'd say about Kansas, I like Kansas, even as a Mizzou guy and a lifelong Kansas hater. I liked them before this Bill Self health scare. Him missing the whole Big 12 tournament has me a little shook. I know they just announced he's going to make a full recovery. It was routine or whatever, but the vibes seem off to me, so I'm going to steer clear.
It makes and it's part of the time that's half the battle is just getting that vibe, getting that feel. One of the biggest ones I ever won was the earlier Villanova win in 2012, maybe, whatever year it was, where it was just vibes, just getting the feel like, hey, this seems like one that can go on the run. They check some of the boxes there, being able to do it, and that double clutch underneath 3-pointer will stick with me forever to have that feeling for it. So this is awesome, guys. Really appreciate your time. This has been fantastic. Collin, let the folks know where they could find you and what other fun stuff you have coming on, and where they can look for more detailed information leading the tournament.
Yeah, my Twitter handle is @_Collin1 with 2 L's. I'll have 3 pieces coming out on Monday. One is going to be the Calcutta auction strategy that I talked about. I'm going to list the teams that I love that I'm going to be bidding up in all my auctions. I'm so glad that we have a company auction and they're going to know all the teams I'm going to be bidding up. And I'm going to list the teams that I'm purposely going to be pumping and actually not buying. There's going to be a pace report out there too. Who are teams that like to grind it up the court like Virginia, and who are teams like Gonzaga that like to fly it up the court? So you can look at your totals and see if you want to hop on it before the steam hits on opening tip. And then I mentioned kill shot for, and I mentioned kill shot against. I will have identified the teams that are the streakiest that are going up against each other, where you're going to see 10.0 runs go all over the place, and and they are just going to be live betting bonanzas, which I can't wait for. So all that'll be on the Action Network. You can find that probably Monday, Tuesday, all of our content. We have such a great stable of college basketball handicappers, starting with Stuckey and everybody else. So go check all that out.
Awesome. And how about for you, Matt? You
can follow me on Twitter @oldboyUncleMitch. And you can listen to much, much, much smarter gamblers than me on the Big Bets on Campus podcast, wherever you like to listen.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. And now back to the show. So appreciate those guys very, very much. It was a ton of fun. Hope you guys really enjoyed that. I was jotting down notes on what I'm going to do for my bracket the entire time. And that brings us to a special contest that we have running. So for anyone who has been following on Twitter, I've shared this on Facebook as well. So we have a really fun contest going on. So you can join. I just have the link in the show description here. So we have a tournament challenge set up on ESPN. You can go in. You can sign up now. I know the bracket's not out till Sunday, but you're able to fill it out once it starts. We'll be sharing this on all social media as it gets closer. And we have some awesome prizes. If you've always had it in your mind, you've wanted that Michael Jordan Bulls jersey, you wanted that Ken Griffey Jr. jersey, you want that Bo Jackson jersey, whatever your dream jerseys are, anything that's reasonably available. It has to be something I can actually obtain, within reason. Our first place will be your choice of sports jersey. Then we've got some awesome ones from our top 5 movie show that we had. We have an autographed Henry Winkler picture from when he was Coach Klein from The Waterboy. Christopher McDonald as Shooter McGavin in Happy Gilmore. Then some fun booby prizes. You can't have a booby prize without Booby Dixon. So I've got an autographed Booby Dixon card, a Ricky Bobby poster. If you're not first, you're last. It's a words to live by. And then if you finish in last place, you are actually contractually obligated to accept an 8x10 of me. So depending on who it is, I may or may not autograph it. We'll see where that goes. But just something fun. We'll share that. That's in the show description here. You can join. You can sign up now. All you have to do is be able to share that. So share it on Facebook or retweet it if you're on Twitter, and then reply with a pic of you subscribing to the show. So as we've talked about in some of the other episodes here, when you're just starting out with a new show, the only way that it can survive is to be able to share that information and to be able to go out, give us a like, give us a rating, give us a review, subscribe to wherever you're at, set the notifications to be able to help us out. That's the way that a new show like this kind of gets legs and gets out there to share with other people. So please take a moment to do that. It would mean a lot. One other cool thing here. So after the show wrapped, Matt dropped us this little nugget here, and it's kind of a bonus stat from some of the stuff he was researching. So the highest odds for any NCAA tournament champion was when UConn originally won in 2014. It was at 100-1. And there's only been 4 teams that have done it. It's actually UConn twice, and then the NC State, which is famous Jim Valvano running around looking for somebody to hug, in the Villanova championship there. And being able to go through, and then the NC State with the dunk at the end, and going through, those are the only 4 that have been the higher odds. We also, out of the 44 NCAA champions since 1978, only 9 were 15-1 or higher. So the only teams right now that are 15-1 in the betting market are Houston, Alabama, Kansas, UCLA, and Purdue. So the odds tell you that the champion is going to be one of those 5 teams. And in the rare instance that it's not, the odds tell you it might be UConn if you're going to go with a long shot to be able to pull it out here. So we'll share this nugget out there on social media. It's a good way, but that list tells you some of the teams you probably want to take all the way in to the Final Four to be able to set yourself up for some success. So really excited about some of the other stuff that we have going on here. But first, I was talking to this gentleman on my way home from work the other day, and he had an important message that he wanted to share.
For sure.
Oh, hello, dudes. Yeah, I was just talking with my other fellow young hip homies about the Greg Tompsett Sports Show, and that if we were one of those, like prominent business owner dudes that he was talking about, we would totally advertise with the Greg Tompsett Sports Show because of the dope demographics and how diverse the customer base is. And that's no cap, or it might be cap. I'm not sure which one of those. But we would totally check it out, with other young hip people like myself. So make sure you go check that out. And yeah, this is awesome. So I gotta go shred this half pipe. I'll talk to y'all later. So obviously he seemed like a really sharp guy, was up to date and current on all the different things that are going on. I would follow his advice. He seemed very, very sharp. So now as we get into our next segment, you have to remember every single week,
I want winners.
We go to get our winners from Uncle Dickie. Here's our next betting segment with Rich Haynes. And now we're back with Uncle Dickie coming back with us here. Rich, how we doing?
We are doing good. I'm not going to lie. I know we're going to get to it in a second, but conference championship week has been treating me very well. Very well. I'm loving NCAA basketball.
Oh, so I was just talking to Colin and Matt and going through that, not me. Some people go all the way through football season and then realize, oh, yeah, I forgot college basketball was existing. Obviously, I'm not like that. But some people, in theory, need to realize, like, oh, wait, is North Carolina not any good anymore? Or is
wait, do you even realize there's a team in the NFL outside of the Bills? Because I'm not sure that you do.
Yeah, see, it's kind of learning where those other things are. There's other sports that get played. It's very interesting. So obviously here, we talked a little bit with those guys about some of the strategy they had, and we're going to talk here about your, scorching hot streak here in conference championship week and going into the tournament. So, obviously fun ones like St. Peter's with that, knocking off Kentucky and being able to hit some of those are always fun. The ones here, Richmond, following the Richmond Spiders, being able to go through all the different crazy things that come up in March Madness. And I love this one, when you're looking for some of the bets, one you can do is just betting on, will there be a game-winning buzzer beater so somewhere in the first 2 rounds? So even, your Chris putting it down to the wire is even hotter with some juice. Even if you didn't know Southeast Missouri State was a real school, I don't know that I recognized them prior to seeing that highlight. With ones like that, I always know Cousin Sal is one that I like. He always kind of bets against the fun stuff. Like he always bets against, like he does this one and he bets against it, that there won't be a buzzer beater because everybody wants to bet on the buzzer beater. So you don't get as good of odds. What do you think about some of those that are more the fun bets for those?
Yeah. So, I mean, for the tournament, I think those are a good time, right? So obviously when I'm taking my approach, I'm going to stick to risk adverse parlay bets and keep plugging away at my, Knish approach to grinding money, kind of like from the rounders, perspective. But certainly sprinkling in some fun, bets like that, as long as you're kind of covering yourself from a money perspective with your other, your other plays, I think is awesome, right? Because it's all about excitement and being entertained, at the end of the day. But I certainly wouldn't go against it and bet, for the non-fun stuff. I mean, I don't want to walk up to the craps table, right, and play like a don't pass line and, have everyone be like,
no
oh, you're winning. No, nobody likes that guy. So, poo-poo on Uncle Sal. Poo-poo.
All right, so let's get into some of the pieces here. Obviously, you guys can check it out in the link below from our last segment with Matt and Cowan. We'll have the Action Network app and for theirs where you can get a lot of really good content. So some of the stuff they mentioned where you're able to come in for new stuff coming out for the tournament, some of the teams that they like, make sure you check that out in the show description. Let's take a look at Rich. Look at this calendar in March, off to a hot start. Oof. How are you doing this?
Man, hot tamales over here. It's been fun, especially obviously yesterday. My second best day, I believe, since starting this in January, 8.3 units. I did not miss a single leg. I had 6 plays yesterday. I went 6-0. 5 of them were parlays. You can see them on the screen. I think my only straight play was Toledo, which I loved Toledo. I should actually put more units on that.
So you don't know this, but on the previous segment, that was one of Colin, their Action Network's biggest experts for college basketball, that they're one of his hottest teams going into the tournament, and one that he's looking forward to them knocking off. Somebody said they're going to be the 13 seed that nobody wants to play.
Yeah, they are incredible. You'll see actually when we get to some of my plays going into today, we'll come back to Toledo a little bit. But yeah, Toledo hit. And you can see, all these parlays, were phenomenal. A couple really nice no sweat ones. The Duke Texas money line was great. Actually one that wasn't NCAA related. I threw an NBA one at the end of the night. And that one was a sweat for a minute. Everything was crushing except De'Aaron Fox was in foul trouble, had 8 points going into the fourth quarter, and then said, you know what, I'm going to beat De'Aaron Fox, and threw up a 15-point quarter to hit me that one at the end of the night. But, if we actually talk a little bit, if we go on and talk a little bit about the approach, and I can explain how I build some of these parlays, Uncle Dickie's average sized parlays. I have a number of different things I try to look at, and I think I've mentioned it on previous shows. So I think on the next visual, we have some points on it. Yeah. So the biggest pieces here, Pythagorean wins, which I'm not sure if the Action Network folks mentioned that on the last segment or not, but I love to look at that. And basically all that is expected win percentage based on your points scored and allowed. So it just takes a look at, hey, what should your record have been, right? And you can usually see some very interesting situations on that. And the example I have on the screen we'll jump into. OddsShark, I love to look for simple AI modeling. There's a lot of different AI models out there that I'll take a look at, but for maybe the casual gambler, that's a really easy one to go look at. You can't simply sit there and go, okay, the computer's going to be right all the time. It's not. But if you're using that in conjunction with some of the other research you're going to put into it, I love to kind of look at that. Hey, does the AI modeling support kind of where I'm heading? And I like to use that as kind of a second check. Recent play trending, teams that are hot. You want to stick with teams that are hot, especially going into tournament time. What a team did maybe earlier on in the regular season, in my opinion, doesn't matter as much. Especially in conference tournament. Head to head, I'll look at head to heads now. Again, just because they may have won or lost against that team the last time doesn't 100% mean that's the result. But I love to look at head to head matchups and see kind of what has happened in the past for this particular season. And then talent gap. I think the talent gap, especially in college basketball, matters. Is there a guy on the other team that can take over? Is there a obvious talent gap, especially since I'm building usually low line alt parlays or money line parlays, right? Even if I'm taking a team that's going to be a 20-point spread, I'm putting that down. You'll see that when we get to my plays. I'm bringing that down to maybe 12 or 10 points. So I'm counting on that talent gap to make that, to basically make that up. I did want to throw the OSU example out here because I think they're a really good example, a good team of how Pythagorean wins can make a difference. So OSU, honestly, they were dog crap coming into the Big Ten tournament. They were playing terrible. At one point, I think they had a 9-game losing streak, and everyone was calling for Chris Holtman's head, even though he just re-upped the contract with Ohio State. But if you look at their Pythagorean wins, they should have had a much, much better record, than what they were actually putting out on the floor. There's a number of reasons for that, but the talent was there, and that, in my opinion, was why I actually stayed off of them in the first 2 rounds of the tournament as far as betting against them. There's a lot of people that were out there, they're like, oh, Ohio State is terrible. I am just betting against Ohio State. And they have upset the first 2 teams now in this tournament. Now they're against Michigan State. Michigan State, 4.5-point favorite. Pythagorean wins, if you look at the Pythagorean wins, Ohio State has 3 more Pythagorean wins than Michigan State. And from a talent perspective, and although there's a monkey wrench thrown in that literally just happened as we started to record this, if you look at the talent between Sensabaugh, Sewing, Thornton, and the emergence of McNeil for Ohio State versus Walker, Hauser, Hogger at Michigan State, I don't see a huge talent gap there. However, literally breaking news, it probably just, what happened about 5 minutes ago. Sensabaugh has been ruled out for Ohio State today with a knee. So that kind of throws a monkey wrench in this particular one. But, I don't know that
that's the kind of thing to watch for. Yeah. If not for that.
I don't know that I would bet on Ohio State, even with him playing, but I definitely wouldn't sit there and go, oh, I'm going to smash Michigan State because, Ohio State was garbage, towards the end of the season. And, these first 2 tournament wins for them have been lucky. So that's just an example of how you can use that. Now, one other thing I want to point out there is simply the pace. The pace of this particular matchup, it's very low. So I might look at the over/under here too. You have a slow pace, or an alternative to that, if you like to get points, maybe putting Ohio State in a average size parlay where you're giving them an alt line of say +10. It's 4.5-point spread. If Sensabaugh was playing, I would feel very comfortable with that pace of play that they can keep it within a 10-point game.
I like it. All right.
So for today, I actually, I have one going right now. I kind of built it using those scenarios I kind of talked through. We have FAU, who I like for a number of reasons. They're a hot team going into it right now. They blew Middle Tennessee out at home by 18. They did lose a weird game at Middle Tennessee State later. But I like them, especially, from a standpoint of where I have them at right now from a line perspective on the alt line -2.5. They're actually up 6 right now, early second half. So they're doing their thing. Houston, they were kind of the building block of this parlay. Obviously a huge talent gap between them and East Carolina. I believe that the line was 21-ish or maybe even 22 before tip. I put that down to 12.5. They're actually struggling a little bit. They're off to a slow start. It's 23-21 at half right now against East Carolina, but I feel pretty confident that they'll go ahead and pull.
Yeah, away. One quick run can snap that with the team as talented as them.
Yeah, and it's obviously going East Carolina then would probably shrink in that particular moment. So I feel good there. And then Toledo, we already talked about Toledo a little bit earlier. The Action Network guys talked about it. I absolutely love them. They're super hot. They're second in the NCAA in total points per game. In this particular one, they have huge advantages in true shooting and free throw percentage. And I think free throw percentage specifically is something you can look at too. Teams that have good free throw shooting in college, that is awesome, especially come tournament time. They've won 16 straight. They won by 15 in the last meeting with Ohio. So throwing them in from a money line standpoint got me to that, plus 113 on the 3-leg. Feel pretty good about that one. Again, right now, FAU covering. Houston, struggle a little bit, but I think they'll pull it out in the second half, and I'm really looking forward to watching Toledo again later today.
Perfect, love it, and I know it's a lot of fun this time of year when you have the setup that we do and being able to kind of go through now. Matt on the previous segment was talking about how you can now be able to just wake up and have something to be able to throw some action on any time of the year. So that's going to continue through this weekend with Conference Championship week. Then getting into the tournament next week, I know is so much fun to be able to have games on from noon to midnight all the way through every single day for that opening weekend. Is one of the most fun sports weekends of the year. So one last thing here.
Wait.
Yeah, sticking out for you.
But wait. There's more. If you don't mind, I don't know if you can pull the visual back up real quick. If you can, that's okay. I do have one for everybody tonight. So this is Stippin at 9:30. So I know your show goes on usually around 9 o'clock. So the one at 9:30 tonight that I'm looking at, I haven't officially bet it yet. San Diego State, Grambling, Arizona. Just some quick numbers there. San Diego State, clear free throw advantage in that one. Pythagorean wins are accurate to where they're at, where San Jose has actually outperformed their Pythagorean wins by 2. So San Jose really isn't as good as they have played to this point. So I definitely like them, especially from a money line perspective. Arizona, again, huge true shooting advantage, and Pythagorean win plus minus ratio is nice. AI modeling has them as an easy cover of 7.5, let alone money line. They did struggle with Arizona State recently, but I think in a tournament situation, they'll come to play tonight and win that money line. And then Grambling, look on the right. Look at that Pythagorean win difference from an era perspective. 25-8 over Jackson State. I like Grambling State with the spread minus 5.5. Let alone putting it into a parlay. There's some weird things going on in that particular game. I think this is a huge smash. AI modeling likes them to cover the 5.5. They have advantage of the 3-point percentage, huge defensive rating advantage. They won by 12 the last meeting. So I'm going to be on Grambling State no matter what later, and I most likely will build this parlay as well. But I like to wait, to lock it in a little bit. But that's what to look at, while your show's probably going on air here at 9:30.
Well, and it's a perfect example. You talk about how each of those are all likely to happen on their own. So you get pretty poor odds on their own. But when you put them together, you get that at plus 130. So now you're winning back positive money to be able to do it. That's how you build an average size parlay. That's perfect.
That is.
So before we close out here, any names that are sticking out to you for the tournament? Teams that you like, teams that you're staying away from, anything that's whispering to you from what you've seen here in conference championship play?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not quite there yet in my analysis of the actual NCAA tournament. I like to, I want to see how the rest of the conference week plays out, and then I'll start to make, some determinations on how who I want to ride. So next week we'll probably get into that a little bit. As always, follow me on Pickett. It's down there at the screen at Riches13 on Pickett. You can certainly gather my plays, turn on notifications, because then you'll just understand. I like to make plays closer to the times of tip off or whatever, so you can kind of see what my thinking is there.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And now back to the show. So just a quick shout out for Rich. He was talking about a couple of the different plays there going on. He hit on Ohio State being, that was closer than what people thought with Michigan State. They actually upset them, and Michigan State won that. He talked about, pulling down the line. He did for Houston to get them down to 12.5. They won by 14. He talked about bringing down the line for Florida Atlantic down to 2.5. They won by 3. Picking Toledo, who won. Just a lot of really sharp picks. You also heard Colin in the previous segment talking about Toledo and Iona. Iona beat Niagara. So both of them won and moved forward in their semifinals for their conference tournaments today, moving into their tournament championship games. 2 of the hottest teams in basketball there, so definitely names to keep an eye on. So just interesting to be able to see everything that those guys are putting together. So 2 more segments here. We're gonna have a little bit of fun on this next one. I whiffed last week. I embarrassed myself. I wasn't ready. You guys know that I've been trying to work my way through knowing about college or about hockey, and that Greg doesn't know hockey. I don't know college basketball either. I really spend a lot of time on football. I know a lot about football. The ones outside of there, I'm still working my way through. Yeah, Lauren was excited, hoping Niagara could pull the upset on Iona, but unfortunately, her Niagara Eagles could not pull it forward here. So I'm ready. This is the first time I'm going to see this. I'm going to do it live. We'll see if I can pull this one off and pull out a win here today with Greg Doesn't Know. We'll see where it goes. This one with March Madness and NCAA. All right. So surely you remember this. The first 16 seed, UMBC, upsetting Virginia in the biggest NCAA tournament upset of all time. I do. I'm feeling okay with this one. But before the University of Maryland, Baltimore County beat Virginia, what was the biggest upset in NCAA history by seeding and score? So... all right, I'm going to think. I know we had some 15-2s. Let me look at the hint. Versus the opponent, the old Bulldogs, Bark was worse. So against Georgetown. So, I guess from a betting standpoint, that's not NC State. Is it in the championship? That's not what that is it? Oh, Florida Gulf Coast. Yes, I wouldn't have got the 78-60. I do remember Florida Gulf Coast and the piece there. I wouldn't have gotten the score, even if I did remember the Florida Gulf Coast or remember that. I didn't remember that it was Georgetown that they upset when it was Florida Gulf Coast. So that was a good one. That was a tough one. All right, the next one we got here. Which school won the first March Madness tournament? All right. Oh no, what is that little dog? So I mean, I guess I have to assume the hint is telling me Oregon. And I know so there's different times of when the bracket has expanded and when it has gone from when they expanded up 64 teams, but it's been going on for quite a while. So I'm gonna say Oregon in 1946. 1939. Dang it. Oh, it was close. Oh, I'm so mad. All right, 1939, the Oregon Ducks beat Ohio State. I can't do it. I'm stammering. I don't know what to say. I'm asking for help, and it's just like when Jules was asking questions in Pulp Fiction.
What? Say what again? Say what again?
Someday I'm going to be ready. I'm going to get it. And I have an awesome video to play when I do finally get it. But I'm going to earn it. I'm going to get it right. I'm going to get it next time. I have faith. I'm going to be ready. Our final one for the show here to wrap up is going to be our worst poll. We've had some really good ones so far. This one, shout out to our man, Eric Smeal. You guys know him as Buffwagon on Twitter and in the Cover One Slack channel. Awesome supporter, Cover One, and everything that we have going on. He had a great recommendation. We were a little bit nervous that it was going to go on a run here and we weren't going to have any competition. So we tried to kind of set it up as a bracket as we had some of the driving ones that go on when guys, people that weren't giving the wave when you were being let in, people who didn't use their turn signal, people who didn't, would go slow in the passing lane or go slow. And then when you went to pass, they would speed up. And that's just the worst. No one likes that. So here I was worried we would have a runaway and that, everybody feels very strongly about the folks who don't return their cart to the cart corral, but it was really close with the one-upper stories. I feel like everybody talks about the doesn't return their cart, like in theory, but you don't see it that often. And everybody knows that obnoxious narcissist that always has to one up your story and always has something just better that they have to bring across. So I think that really registered with a lot of people. Nobody likes the one upper. So here, Max was talking, I'm a firm believer in the theory that any random individual's willingness to return a shopping cart is a direct reflection of their ability to function within a civilized society. It really is. It's no one's going to hold you accountable for it. No one's going to tell you. It takes minimal effort to do it. And it's the right thing, but there's also no benefit. There's no immediate benefit or return. So I've actually read a couple of things. It really is a pretty good study for your ability to function in society. And can you do the right thing when you know you're not going to get an immediate reward or return, and you also know you're probably not going to get in trouble if you don't? Do you still do the right thing anyway? So, I appreciate Max calling that out. Eve here saying the odds are good. You have much more interaction with a one-upper jerk than the shopping cart loser. Makes the one-upper more painful. I agree. Nobody likes that person in their life. Nobody wants that person who always has to try to one-up you. Here, Mike, and the favorite to face off next week with doesn't return the shopping cart guy, Mike with a suggestion. Can I add holding the door for someone and not getting a thank you into the ring? That's a good one. Like sometimes you see them coming, at the gas station and they're out, coming from their car and you see them. And maybe it's even kind of almost a weird distance where you're like, all right, do I hold it? Do I not hold it? And you sit there and wait and hold the door open. And they go, and sometimes they even maybe hurry up a little bit, or they're messing on their phone, and they don't say anything. They don't say thank you. What kind of monster is that? Who doesn't say thank you? That's ridiculous. So that's a good one. We'll set that one up and run that poll here this week, and see if they can give a run to doesn't return the shopping cart guy. Nobody likes that. Nobody wants to be the doesn't return the shopping cart guy. So awesome show tonight. This was a ton of fun. I appreciate your interaction in the chat. Remember, it really helps us out. Leave us a comment, leave us a review. Check out our tournament subscription or our tournament contest, how you can participate in that. All kinds of fun stuff that we have going on there. Make sure you're checking out the stuff from the Action Network. You can follow Rich on Pickett and follow some of his picks. He's making a ton of money for people right now. Those guys at the Action Network were fantastic. Again, you can join our March Madness tournament, and please give us a rating or review give us a like. That goes a long ways. We really, really appreciate it. But that's going to do it for us here tonight. We'll let Daniel Craig take us home.
Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend.
Try to be good to someone here and have yourself a good weekend.